James Bond has been one of my all-time favourite characters and franchises. One of my fondest childhood memories was when my parents took me to the cinema to see For Your Eyes Only. I had seen other Bond movies on the TV before, but this was the first time I was seeing the super spy on the silver screen. I was 7 at the time, and I was really excited. Dad on one side, Mum on the other, and me in the middle with a bucket of popcorn on my lap and a Coke that was nearly as big as me on the side. I remember leaving the cinema all hyped, and for the next couple of months, all I did was play as the spy with my mates. From that day on, I was a fan. I was hooked. Now let's not beat around the bush. Bond was the man every boy wanted to be, and why not? Adventure, saving the world over and over again, and getting paid for it also? Hell yeah, count me in. As I grew older, I started to realize that Bond was traveling to all these incredible places. One day he'd be in Jamaica, the next in Monaco, and the day after on the Swiss Alps. So being in Australia and coming from Portuguese parents, I wondered if there was any Bond movie that had been filmed in Portugal. To my surprise, there was. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one and only film starring George Lazenby, and where we see Bond tying the knot with Tracy Di Vincenzo. A big part of the movie was shot in Portugal, from the beaches of Guincho to the jewelry store where Bond bought the ring. Needless to say, I now wanted to learn more of my favourite MI6 agent. The next step into the world of Ian Fleming's creation was the books. I'd found out that the movies had been based on the books written by a Mr. Ian Fleming. I've always loved to read since I was a kid, and I still do. So after learning this little fact, I ran to my local library and found the first one with the help of the librarian. Casino Royale was the title, and I devoured the pages. The book was as good, if not better, than what I had seen on the screen. Even though I read all 12 novels, it was the movies that fueled my interest in 007. Then comes the era of the VCR. My parents bought one, and thanks to that, I could watch a whole bunch of movies that I didn't even know existed. We ran out all sorts of films, but one of the main franchises was, of course, James Bond. I was taken back in time and saw Sean Connery fighting against a big Japanese man with a killer hat, saw Roger Moore deal with Jaws, and I don't mean the shark, and I finally got to see a bit of my parents' homeland thanks to George Lazenby. As the years rolled on, Bond would change his face, but one thing stayed the same. Well, in fact, 3 things. The adventure, the fun, and of course, the gadgets. The gadgets. All from the brilliant mind of MI6's mad scientist / engineer Q. From watches with lasers to cars mounted with machine guns, Bond's gadgets are iconic as the man himself. Granted that some of them became more absurd as the movies rolled out, but that was something that was to be expected by now. What would be the next big gadget that James would carry in his pocket? Maybe nuclear bubblegum that would be triggered with saliva. No one knew. And as to be on par with the crazy gadgets, some of the action scenes also began to be more ridiculous. Looking at you, Remington Steele. Oh yeah, I know his name's Pierce Brosnan. Every now and then, Bond would change his face, but with that, his personality would hardly ever change. Until Daniel Craig. Now don't get me wrong, I really loved Craig in the role. I think it was a perfect pick, and I was quite surprised with his first shot at the part. So much so that Casino Royale is my favourite Bond movie. It was a more down-to-earth, gritty James Bond. More in touch with reality, more hard-hitting, but it was still 007. Casino Royale had something that clicked with me. Well, the same can't be said of the films that came after. Okay, so let me put it this way. When I watch a movie, like so many others, I want to have fun, excitement, and all of that good stuff. And if I like the movie, well, I'll just watch it over and over again. I can honestly say that Casino Royale is the Bond movie that I have seen the most, followed closely by Live and Let Die. Want to know which ones are on the bottom of the list? The last 4 Bond movies, with only Skyfall a little above the other 3, which are like dead last. I don't even remember what they were about, only bits and pieces of them, but nothing special. And why, you may ask? To be honest, I don't really know. They just didn't click for me. The action sequences were okay for the most part, but the major story arc for Bond just wasn't my thing. I prefer the one-shot adventures. And I totally understand that the studio wanted to change the formula, and I respect that, but it's not for me. Aside from that, I still went and watched them all at the theatre to see if they would reel me in this time. But nah. And with this last installment, I don't know what will happen to the name James Bond. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and are thinking of watching it, here's your spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. James Bond dies at the end. Like, what the fuck? If I wasn't too happy about this series of movies, I sure as hell didn't leave the movie theatre all happy and farting out rainbows after this ending. What is it with Hollywood killing off iconic characters, especially the ones that made a shit ton of money? Okay, I get it that some characters are so tied to the actors that play them that replacing the actor would be more of an insult than a good move. But at least give them an honourable send-off, not some half-assed thrust of a blade. Looking at you, Disney Star Wars. And okay, Bond went out in a blaze of glory, but did he have to though? Daniel Craig didn't want to play the role anymore? Okay then, just replace him. It's what you've been doing since the 70s. You didn't kill Bond when Connery left. You didn't kill Bond when Dalton left. Hell, you didn't kill Bond when Lazenby did the one-shot. And if there was a movie where it could have been done, it was that one. But you didn't. But you did now. I'm hoping that the Broccoli's would do right by Ian Fleming's creation. But with how everything works nowadays, I'm sort of scared that the end of No Time to Die was the last time we saw James. And we'll have to start to say his name was Bond. James Bond. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, think about leaving a comment. And if you want, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon also for further videos. Thanks.